10 years. 10 years ago, I made this channel where I uploaded a handful of Minecraft videos, and since then, I've made more videos on and off for years. So, to continue the theme, we're making another yearly video on this channel, and what better way to celebrate 10 years if not for a top 10 video games of all time, in my opinion. Welcome to all my loyal fans, all 165 of you, and of course, welcome to everyone else. Today, I've made a list of my favorite video games of all time, like, ever. Now, I've been playing video games most of my life, about 20 years, give or take. So after 20 years of being a nerd emoji and playing almost all genres of video games, and no, not those NSFW puzzle furry ones, here are my top 10 favorite games of all time. Starting with number 10, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. I played this game in 2017 on release, and still, it's got to be one of the most memorable experiences I've had from a video game. You play as Senua, a warrior on a quest to fight for the soul of her dead lover. The enemies you encounter throughout your journey are as equally dark and eerie as the world of Hellblade itself. Being an action-adventure, story-centered game, it's mostly a walking sim with puzzles and combat here and there. But it's a walking sim through a world rich with lore and mystery, and there was never a moment where I wasn't at the edge of my seat. The puzzles are okay, but the combat is what makes this game so immersive and cinematic. Your attacks and counters have weight behind them, and you can combo these depending on the type of enemy you're faced with. There are no skill trees in Hellblade, no inventory to manage, no weapons or armor you can equip. It's just an enthralling game that's both beautiful and haunting, with very, very memorable moments throughout its unforgettable story. At number 9, it's One Shot. Playing One Shot was like going to sleep and waking up in this game. It's one of the most immersive worlds ever. The story, its characters, and the breaking of the fourth wall. In One Shot, you don't feel like you're just an observer, like you're just a player playing a game. It's like you're part of the story itself. The relationships you create with the characters you meet are meaningful, and those connections you make continue with you throughout One Shot's dynamic story. You're constantly reminded that your choices shape this game's world and everyone that's a part of it. The more you play, the more you realize the weight of your choices. Every moment becomes consequential, and because of that, every moment draws you in more and more. It's a unique take on storytelling, and it's one of those rare experiences of video games that goes beyond the conventional and makes something truly special. Moving on to the 8th game in this list, it's kind of a 2-in-1. It's Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I couldn't make this list and include one, but not the other, because both of these games are so deserving. In both games, you of course play as Ori, this cute creature hybrid thing. In the first game, you venture on a heroic quest to save the world and your home from a dark evil. It's a story about love, sacrifice, and hope, and because of that, it's brimming with emotion in each of its aspects. The story shifts in the second game, becoming a journey centered more on family and discovery, but still being an epic, emotional journey. The settings in both games are exotic and breathtaking. The soundtracks are in a league of their own. And if you love challenging puzzles and fun combat, I mean, even if you don't like those things, you still have to play both of these games. Yep, it's on this list. Baldur's Gate 3. This was the game that introduced me to the universe of Dungeons & Dragons, and now I'm in love. It's difficult to talk about its gameplay, just because there's so much to do, and you can't do everything in a single playthrough. Baldur's Gate 3 is a classic fantasy story. You and your party embark on a quest to save the world of Faerun. Your travels will take you through different regions of this world, each with their own storyline, characters, side quests, all of which will influence you and your journey as you continue forward in one way or another. The build-ups and payoffs in this game are amazing. The customization, amazing. The storylines, amazing. The combat, amazing. The settings, amazing. The dice rolls, amazing. Until you roll a D1, again and again. I'm only on my second campaign, but it feels like I'm playing a whole new game, even after 100 hours. And it's not like I'm playing in a new way, save for maybe changing my class and who I have in my party, but it's the seemingly insignificant interactions here and there that significantly reshape how the layers of this game unfold. Made by the developers of Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human, Beyond Two Souls is my favorite of the three. In the opening sequence of the game, you're immediately drawn into this world. You're asking yourself questions about the characters, the story, the supernatural, and you find yourself searching for answers, which come chapter by chapter. You play as Jody, a character who was born with a connection to this entity that has supernatural powers. It's a game where your choices matter, and the ending is a consequence of what you choose to do on this ever-changing journey. A lot of the game is done by exploring and interacting with the people you meet and the settings you come across, and, of course, QuickTime events. And yeah, QuickTime events being QuickTime events are not the best for gameplay, but it's the story that struck me and stayed with me as the game's most memorable quality. Speaking of which, Beyond Two Souls is a powerful story about loss and discovery, and I cried a couple of times, not only because of how great the build-ups are, but because of how much I love QuickTime events. I'm kidding, but Beyond Two Souls is a game that makes you realize the weight of your choices. Choices that will weigh on your conscience even once you've made it to the end of this story. If you guessed that a Soulsborne game was going to be on this list, you got me. It's Elden Ring, the first and only Soulsborne game I've ever played. The announcement of Elden Ring echoed throughout the world, and I heard it call to me. I played it on release and nearly uninstalled it. It wasn't until a year later where I gave it a second chance that I played it, and I quit. Again. The third time, however, through the blood, the sweat, the tears, I made it to Elden Ring's end. And now it's become not only one of my favorite fantasy games, but one of my favorite games ever. Period. The world building, the story, the characters, the setting, the soundtrack, the bosses are all phenomenal on their own, but when all of them come together, it creates... It creates a masterpiece of fantasy fiction. If you're like me and you've never played a Soulsborne game in your life, it's difficult to get into, but once you're used to the pacing and the combat, you can wholeheartedly appreciate everything about this game. So go forth, venture into the lands between, and prove yourself against friend and foe alike, and become the Elden Lord. The Metro series is so good. A part of me wants to add all the games to this list, but Metro Exodus is the cherry on top. It's the third game in the series and still a story about Artyom, but instead of being a game about the underground metro and overground wasteland of Moscow, Russia, this time you and your crew travel to the country's diverse regions in a year-long journey. You'll discover and explore cities, settlements, and the wilderness during different seasons, and all of these locations are as immersive as the next. They're breathtaking and brimming with secrets and side quests, perfect for players who love post-apocalyptic survival settings. It's one of those games that was perfectly handcrafted by the developers and designers, rewarding player exploration. Each region of Metro Exodus invites new characters and new challenges to confront, and choices you make can affect you and your crew as you continue on your journey. I love the details about Metro Exodus, the small talk conversations your friends invite you to, the dynamic relationships between not only you and your crew, but the ones they have with each other. I like taking time between missions to read Artyom's journal, where he writes about his thoughts and feelings, the places he's been to, the people he's met, and everything in between. All of this adds to the immersion, and you really feel like this world is real. The Metro story as a whole should be experienced by everyone, but it is also perfectly okay to play Exodus on its own. I don't know what I expected from this game. If Signalis' story was the bullseye on the dartboard and I was throwing a dart of expectation, I somehow hit the wall behind me because I was so far off from what I thought this game was about, and I want to keep it as mysterious for you as it was for me. I will say, however, Signalis is reminiscent of both Silent Hill and Resident Evil. It's a story that's a well without an end. There is so much lore and themes and meta themes, but because of the way it's delivered, it's a perfect balance between being too much and being nothing at all. The world of Signalis is not just one of mystery, but allure. The more you play, the more you discover, then the more you want to know. And it's this cycle that keeps you immersed as part of this world. There's a lot on the surface level of Signalis, but as you continue deeper and deeper into this game, your anticipations are going to be challenged time and time again. It's a potent metamorphosis, one which evolves into something unexpected. And for someone who's played a lot of video games, that's something special. Signalis is definitely more on the metaphorical side of storytelling rather than the literal, but whether or not that's something you're into, this game was soul-stirring and something I will remember forever. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Being a naive kid who was into dragons and heroes, Skyrim was everything I wanted in a video game. And even now, it still kind of is. It's a classic RPG set in a fantasy world with kingdoms, factions, magic, and everything in between. I must have played this game 13 times now, and in each of those playthroughs, there's always a stone left unturned. There's always a new character I meet, a new location I explore, a new quest I accept, and I love those moments of nostalgia and the new. Skyrim is by no means a perfect game, but in a way, its flaws are part of its charm. With the new Elder Scrolls releasing soon-ish, now's never been a better time to get into this fantasy world. And bonus points, if you love lore in video games, you have to get the Skyrim box set. I mean, just look how cool this is. Like what? The lore of not only Skyrim, but the whole of Tamriel is spellbinding, and though I've yet to play the other Elder Scrolls, I can only imagine they are as good, if not better, than Skyrim. Before I get to the end of this list, I have to put the spotlight on the games that did not make it, but I love these games and I definitely will include them in the videos to come. So, shout out to God of War, Cyberpunk, Metal Gear, Dying Light, Prey, Stray, Tomb Raider, Control, Final Fantasy VII, Silent Hill 2, Resident Evil 2, and last but not least, Ratchet & Clank. Now, here it is, the number one game on my list. Hyper Light Drifter. Hyper Light Drifter is something special. It's a masterpiece of wordless storytelling. You play as a stranger to a strange world. You're a nameless drifter, a collector of knowledge, technology, and history of a bygone age. It's a silent journey with loud moments of meaning. For me, it's a story about loss, discovery, and the inevitable. The world of Hyper Light Drifter and its inhabitants are on the brink of life and death. It's clear that this world was affected by a collapse, and as you journey into each region, you put together the timeline of what happened, piece by piece, all while you're contending not to be consumed by this world, its enemies, its environments, and even the unknown of your own mortality. This is one of those games I wish I could play again for the first time. As you make it to the end of this game, you reflect on the transformative journey of Hyper Light Drifter that transcends the boundary of being just a video game, because it is beyond that. It's powerfully provoking, calling out to you and making you question yourself introspectively. If you choose to play one game from this list, let it be Hyper Light Drifter, and maybe it too will become your favorite video game ever. Thank you for making it to the end of this list and to the end of this video. I would love to hear from all of you in the comments about your favorite video game and whether or not you agree or disagree with my own rankings. I loved making this video and I promise I'll try my best to continue making videos for you guys. Not in 2026, but this year. So thank you again and see ya.